Good Thursday morning. Sorry I'm a little late uh, this morning. Here in Sacramento, the post office once a year provides paper bags for people to put food and goodies and staples and things like that. Not staples, but staple foods and stuff uh, for the homeless and for food banks and things like that. And we slipped over to Trader Joe's and got a few goodies, a few organic goodies for that program. So we were a little late this morning. Hope you're doing okay. I would like to thank everybody here in these early days of the release of the new book. It looks like it is. So far it's pretty popular, and we're getting wonderful feedback of it, and it looks like it's selling briskly. And if you ordered yours on pre-order, you should probably have it by now if you're in the United States anyway. And I just learned that it'll be a couple weeks more before it arrives in England. But I hope you'll be patient and enjoy it. Also, perhaps I'm not sure about if the Kindle is available now in England. But anyway, it's available. Eventually, it'll be available in like three formats, an audio book and things like that. But it's one of these books that you'll probably want the paperback edition. But anyways, so much for that. I have been re-enjoying this publication that came out quite a few years ago in partnership with the good folks at New Falcon Productions or Publications and Ordo Templi Orientis. And you can see there it's Revival of Magic and Other Essays by Aleister Crowley. What's neat about it is that these essays are not among the Crowley literature that one usually has in one's library. And it's some of the best stuff in short little tidbits, okay, little bonbons of Crowley. Many of the little essays were articles in American magazines, the International and Vanity Fair, and an assortment of other just magazines. Crowley was a writer. But during the American period, just prior to and during World War I, Crowley was also becoming seriously invested, if you will, in Thelema and how his experience in 1904 of the Supreme Invocation of Horus and the writing of the Book of the Law, and Thelema as a viable or a potentially viable not only philosophy, but with all the chaos and everything that was occurring around World War I, an alternative way of life, a step forward in human evolution, societal and civilization. And so there's a series of things, and I'm just going to read a piece of one right now, and then I'm going to read a whole one, and both of them are just a page or two long. very often I was quoted the other day. I read the quote and then I went back to see the interview that it was quoted from. And somebody asked me, the interviewer asked me, well, how did you get into magic? What first got you into magic and mysticism and all of this? And my answer was just three letters. Yeah, LSD, which is for many people enough said, okay? And everybody knows that, or who knows anything about Crowley, perhaps the first thing they know about Crowley was that he was a heroin addict, okay? And he used cocaine and he took drugs, okay? But he actually had a heroin addiction on and off through his life. He had severe asthma, bordering on potentially fatal. And heroin was not an illegal drug at the time, and it was a prescribed medicine, and it actually did pull him out of a potentially suffocating seizure, asthmatic seizure. Grady McMurtry tells the story. So I'm going to tell this story from hearsay because Grady told me. But Grady, who was in the U.S. Army during World War II and stationed in England just prior to the invasion, D-Day invasion, but he was a lieutenant and he had access to a Jeep and petrol. And so he could visit Crowley. Grady was a member of the California OTO, and he got to visit Crowley in several of Crowley's residences, one at 93 German Street and one at Bell Ashton. And Grady tells the story of he was playing chess with Crowley. They both enjoyed chess. They both enjoyed poetry. And Crowley was probably smoking his Perique tobacco, which is just god-awful. Anyway, and they were playing chess. And then all of a sudden, Crowley's lungs seized up. And it was obvious that he was having an attack, an asthmatic attack. And Grady moved forward across the chess table to like steady Crowley or to see if he needed help to the lavatory. And he said Crowley pushed him off like this, okay? And he couldn't talk, okay? He just pushed him off like this. And Crowley slowly but very deliberately stood up, went to the little mantelpiece, and took a leather kit off the mantelpiece that contained a glass syringe and some heroin in liquid form. And all the while not breathing, he just systematically put the needle in the bottle, drew it out, looked at the measured amount, and injected himself. I believe it was the bottom of his left arm, I think Grady said. And in just a few seconds later, he went, and his breathing continued. And he carefully put his kit away, put his rig away, and went back and whipped Crowley's ass at chess. So yes, when people say, wasn't he a drug addict? Well, yes. Okay. But I ran across this because I was going to read something else from here this morning. I ran across this in the little chapter called The Attainment of Happiness, and a restatement of the purpose of mystical teachings. And I tried to find out where this was first published. But, and remember, at the time, this is not before 1920, where many things, most things, chemicals, drugs were not controlled substances. The best and wisest of men are always seeking a solution to the problem of human sorrow. There is one which the wandering aesthetics of the world would have always known. Whoever said, quote, the kingdom of heaven is within you, certainly knew the best solution of the problem. Man is, in reality, only a very little lower than the angels. He is far more independent of circumstances than most people are aware. Happiness is not so utterly beyond his reach as those who do not climb spiritual mountains suppose. But there are remedies nearer than the mighty pyramid of Kogori and the tented pavilion of the massive Kenjenjunga. You can woo the butterfly, the poppy bud. You can float like a butterfly in the enchanted air. You have only to draw a little of the hydrochloride of cocaine into your nostrils, and you can become full of intense virility and energy, devourer of obstacles. To smoke a few pipes of opium, and you rise to the cloudless and passionless bliss of the philosopher. To swallow a little hashish, you behold all the fantastic glories of fable, and those 1,000-fold. Or to woo a flask of ether, breathing in as it were the very soul of your beloved, and you will perceive the heart of beauty in every vulgar and familiar thing. Every one of these drugs gives absolute forgetfulness of all misfortune. Nay, you may contemplate the most appalling catastrophes imminent or already fallen upon you, and you care no more for them than does nature herself. The only drawback to the use of drugs is the phenomena of toleration is so soon set up, and the effect diminished. For while weaklings, there is always the danger of the formation of a habit. When the treacherous servant becomes the master, and takes toll for the boon of his ephemeral heaven by the bane of an abiding hell. These remarks have only been introduced to emphasize the fact that happiness is an interior state. For every one of these drugs gives happiness supreme and unalloyed, entirely irrespective of the external circumstances of the individual. It would be folly to fill the apartment of an opium smoker with the masterpieces of Rembrandt or Sotasu, when a dirty towel or a broken chair suffices to flood his soul with the most glorious, more glories than it can bear. And when he realizes that light itself is beautiful, no matter on what object it may fall and when. If you ask him that he would do if he were blind, he would condescend from heaven to reply that darkness was more lovely still, that light was but a disturbance of the serenity of the soul, a siren to seduce it from the bliss of the contemplation of its own ineffable holiness. But why should we talk of drugs? Okay, it goes on, and it's very, very interesting. But I don't know if I'm going to go over today, but I think I will, because what I really wanted to read you, it will be eclipsed by that drug thing, was a letter from the Master Therion. Okay, it's called. And it's from it's to the editor of the International. Supposedly, somebody wrote a letter to his magazine publisher. Okay. With Crowley, you never know. He like invents Rabbi Ben Clifford's and things like that. But he does it to set up what he wants to say. Let's see how. Yes, we'll do this. A letter from the Master Therion to the editor of the International. Sir, in answer to the question, quote, can you tell us anything of the great white brotherhood known as the AA? Now, remember, this is like 1917, and Crowley's just starting to talk about this AA stuff and in public lectures and things like where people aren't magicians even. He's just dropping this on the public, okay? Can you tell us anything about the great white brotherhood known as the AA? Mr. Chas Lesenby of the Theosophical Society made the following remarks after his public lecture on magic at the Vancouver Labor Temple, July 31st, 1917. Now, I don't know if Crowley is this guy here, this Theosophist, but supposedly here's what Mr. Chas Lesenby said. The AA is an occult order having a definite purpose and was started by a man of immense power, perhaps the greatest living. The place of this great being in the occult hierarchy is a profound mystery, and he and his mission are causing a great amount of speculation at the present time. Judged by any ordinary student, he is absolutely and entirely evil. I got to digress for a second. I've often said Crowley thought any publicity was good publicity. And if anyone was superstitious or stupid enough or uneducated enough, I guess, to see through Crowley's mystical evil facade, then they deserved to believe in that the facade was real. But anyway, I digress. Hang on. Let's see. Judged by any ordinary standard, he is absolutely and entirely evil. He has broken his occult vows and all codes of morality, openly stating that he has done so and will continue to do so. He may have a very great purpose in view. No living person, perhaps, has had such an influence on occult thought. This is all true. And wrought so much change therein. He has knowingly taken upon himself the tremendous karma. But what will the ultimate result? It is impossible to judge. To all appearance, as I remarked, he is the personification of evil. That's unquote. Later, during a private conversation, Mr. Lazenby continued. Okay, so that was the public thing. This is what he said in private. He's a very wonderful being. An ordinary man like myself has no possible means of judging what his ultimate motive is. Looked at from known standards, he is evil, but from a distance, in perspective, one may imagine that he is taking this great karma for some definite end. It may be, he may be the savior of the world. And in any case, 300 years from now, he will be looked upon as one of the greatest of the world's geniuses. I should not care to have any part of his work myself. You have this to remember, however, that you are connected with a genuine occult order, which is not pseudo-occult, not a pseudo-occult one such as Handel's, Max Heindel. Okay, that's the Rosicrucian Society. Crowley couldn't stand that. Okay. Not a pseudo-occult one such as Handel's and others which are worthless. Now, unquote. What has the Master Therion to say about this? Asks Chaz Lazenby of the Theosophical Society. Okay. This is back to Crowley. Mr. Lazenby has so long and so laudably labored under the production of canned soup that he has neglected the wine of Iacchus. But I think he needs only to be shown. It is something to be hailed as a possible savior of the world by one's avowed and bitter enemies. Nunc dimittis. Okay, nunc dimittis. Okay. You have my permission to depart, kind of thing. Now get out of here. Okay. Anyhow, to be called the personification of evil is not exactly a precise charge. If I wish to attack Mr. Lazenby, I should define my accusation. I should say that under alpine conditions, the lentil soup squares dissolve too slowly. I believe that H.P. Blavatsky was a great adept. I judge her by her highest, the voice of the silence, not by any mistake she may have made in other matters. I consider that her work has been treacherously ruined by Mrs. Besant. That's Annie Besant, and she took. Annie Besant was a paradoxical character. She was a feminist and a very progressive thinker and activist. And she was also sort of like a naive occultist. Also, it's she and her companions that wanted to raise up Krishnamurti as the new world teacher. Okay. But she was busy doing other things that we would, today would just say, God, was she ahead of her time? But I digress. I consider that her work has been treacherously ruined by Mrs. Besant, the street corner atheist, socialist, and advocate of abortion. Of this offense, she was actually convicted. Mrs. Besant's whole object seems to have been to prevent disciples from making those bold experiments which open the gate to higher planes. Now, in a sense, one of Crowley's characters, and it may have been a fictional character in Moonchild or something, Diary of a Drug Fiend, where he's one character is talking to a theosophist, and theosophist says, "Oh, oh no, I wouldn't actually use the magic wand. That's only pygmies and Zulus would actually use the magic. We talk about it a lot. We study the wand, but we we don't use it." But I digress. So I'll repeat that. Of this offense, she was actually convicted. Mrs. Besant's whole object seems to have been to prevent disciples from making those bold experiments which open the gates of higher planes. I'll digress again. Just like that that Kabbalah course, that correspondence course that I got many years ago through the Rosicrucian Order Amorc, that spent all its time saying Kabbalah isn't this or it isn't that. It's not tarot cards. It's not the Tree of Life. It's not. And if you see a Tree of Life or tarot cards, just run away, run away. But it really didn't say anything that would get you excited about what Kabbalah really is. So anyway, I do not believe that any man or woman can come to ultimate harm by passionate will to seek truth. They may go insane. They may be slain. They may be damned. These are only ordeals which do them good. If they can stick it out, they will get through. Mrs. Besant wants to be like conscience, to make cowards of us all. In my first initiation, I was told fear is failure. Be thou therefore without fear, for in the heart of the coward virtue abideth not. Thou hast known me, pass on. To prevent men from confronting the unknown, to sidetrack them with petty drivel about minor ethics, to deck them out with stolen regalia of orders whose secrets they are profoundly ignorant. These are the works of the brothers of the left-hand path. And of these I believe Mrs. Besant to be the greatest now alive. And that's where he actually signs off as Therion 9 = 2 AA. Anyway, that's another day of diving into the revival of magic. I think you'll probably have to find it for sale on eBay or something like that. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you continue to have a good week, and we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.